What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some expectations for this upcoming week, what might cause some volatility in the stock price, and one possibly unexpected catalyst that might be coming out. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound did actually have some pretty good momentum tail part of last week. Now the market's going to be digesting this, which came out after hours on Friday. Even over the weekend, I see somewhat mixed feelings on this. So Moody's downgrades US due to ever rising debt, high interest payment ratios. I'm sure everyone kind of already has their thoughts on what this is going to do to the market, but I do feel that this is just going to be a temporary pullback, just a one-day event, similar to what happened August 1st, 2023, when the last time the US did get downgraded. Caused the market to go down 0.29%, so nothing overly crazy. A lot of speculative stocks, I'm sure, such as SoundHound and a couple others, will go down a little bit more than that. But at the end of the day, though, it will be a good buying opportunity because one day, 1 week after, we're going to forget about that. We'll be looking for the next big piece of news. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below, but you can already see what happened after hours on Friday did cause it to go down to roughly that 1070 range. So once I go over the technicals, that'll make a little bit more sense. Looking forward into this week, though, there's not a lot in data points. A lot of Fed speakers, so that could be obviously bring some volatility because I'm sure some of them will be talking about tariffs, what that will do to the labor market and everything else. But aside from the Fed speakers, it is going to be more linked to companies' technicals and just a reflection week. And what I mean by that is people are going to be thinking about what has happened over the last couple of weeks, such as tariffs, data points, and kind of give a estimate on what that will do for the future. So again, a reflection week is somewhat good. Usually results in kind of the market to be stagnant a little bit, but nonetheless, though, looking forward into this upcoming week, no fireside chats, no events scheduled, at least from what I can see. SoundHound's really been stepping up their kind of attendance at conferences and whatever else, so that should be done, but I don't see them posting it on social media as much as they once were, so I don't know if they're slowing down, but I think that's kind of a good thing. But with that said, I do feel like there is a good catalyst that could come for SoundHound, and it'd be indirectly. So this news did come out April the 25th, and so it's linked to Tencent. I'm sure a lot of you already know that SoundHound and Tencent have that strategic partnership. That's a massive deal for SoundHound, but Pony AI also did get a deal with Tencent, strategic partnership to advance autonomous driving technology and robotaxi commercial deployment. So they are trying to build something very big. And if you actually think about it, if Tencent is planning on doing robotaxis with one of their companies that they're partnering with, whether it be Toyota, NIO, or someone else, imagine if SoundHound is in all of those. So this is where, again, just kind of piecing two and two together, it logically makes sense. That has never been kind of outright disclosed, though, but Pony does have their earnings Tuesday before the market does open. So potentially, if they allude to and kind of talk on that Tencent partnership, and let's say they kind of mention a timeline and what that also, let's say, other entities such as SoundHound would be incorporated in that, then that would be a huge catalyst for SoundHound. Or even logically, if we just kind of tune into that earnings, get more of a timeline from that earnings, what they give for future guidance, and what kind of this partnership will mean, us SoundHound investors can logically behind the scenes piece two and two together, because from the SoundHound earnings, we didn't really get too much associated to this Tencent strategic partnership. So I think this will be a very good catalyst for SoundHound on Tuesday. And big money does do a lot of that behind the scenes. They like to piece two and two together. So if you start to see some abnormal volume on Tuesday, that is why. But going into this upcoming week, 30.97% of the free float is being shorted. It works out to be 113.07 million shares. I would anticipate shorts to kind of increase on Monday to react to this news, because even though I personally do feel that this is just going to be a one-day pullback, they're going to take advantage of that, and so they should be most likely increasing on Monday. The rest of the week, logically, I don't see them doing all too much. They've been actually returning quite a lot. So peak was roughly on May the 9th, where it was at looks like around like 34%. So kind of crazy stuff for that. Cost to borrow average 1.15, and then short score is 72.88. But moving over to options, so with it closing above $11 on Friday, after hours doesn't count, so that pullback, so it closed at or above that $11 at the market close. So that does mean that the 9,000 at the 11 is considered in the money. Same with the 4,000 at 10.50, 5,000 at the 10. So essentially about just shy of around 2 million shares do need to be covered by market makers. So that could give a nice bump up on Monday. There was some transactions that did occur after hours on Friday. Hard to tell if it was institutions reacting to that downgrade or if it was market makers covering. But at the end of the day, it still, regardless, doesn't really add up to that 2 million shares. So most likely you'll still see a nice bump up kind of on Monday. It might be short-lived, but nonetheless, you should see a nice little bump up straight away. But with it right now at 11.19, it is trading between this R3 and this R2. So 10.73 is going to be that next strong support. And actually, after hours on Friday, kind of touched that. So just watch for that. That's going to be a key pivot for SoundHound come Monday. And then 12.04 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. And then 9.91 will be the following support. So kind of just take note of that. No new analyst ratings. So these are the latest ones. Still relatively bullish in comparison to where it is though. So you did have Scott $18 buy rating. Then you also had 10 buy. That was by D.A. Davidson. And then Daniel Ives 15. So I still think that this is relatively optimistic as a consensus of all of these. $11.42 is that price target, representing 2.06% upside from these current levels. Side note, if you do want all of this information, including ownership, analyst forecasts for upcoming earnings, everything that you ever need to know, sign up for IBKR completely free. Link in the description below and also the comments. Highly recommend. A lot of individuals sign up for this because this is normally stuff that you like TipRanks charges for. So this is a lot of good information. But aside from that though, on the actual chart itself, so it did unfortunately slip a little bit. So it is below the ALMA, below that 100-day moving average. So it's kind of just wedge bound back to where it was between that 100 and 200-day moving averages. So most likely this week will be another big determining week. If let's say that Moody's downgrade does really spark a lot of fear, then you could see a potential retest of that 200. Flip side, I'm more on the flip side, but I do feel that it will be a one-day pullback and then kind of retest this 100-day moving average, because a lot of the data points have been absolutely on point with the exception of Friday's Michigan consumer sentiment, and that I think is enough to justify a rate cut for July. So that's kind of a good evil, if that kind of makes sense. So all in all, for this week, I do feel that there's going to be a lot of volatility, but it will still land between this R3 and this R2. So let me know your viewpoint. Do you agree? Do you think it's going to be more of a bloodbath week of a pullback? Or do you think that this is going to be a screaming buying opportunity and that we're going to be above this 12.04, possibly between that 12.04 and 15.49? So what's your general thoughts? Don't forget to pop over to my Discord, completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. So link to that is in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.